Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another one of SIG Agenda calls. I think, yeah, the first item is riches. Which do you want to
Hi, yes.
talk about this?
So I was hoping that Damien would join for this one, but since we have been carrying this issue over for a few times, let's just go through it once at least. Uh, I was reached out to by the controller runtime maintainer, Alvaro, and he was very curious about this one issue that is some years old now. And basically, what he's trying to ask is that for the client Go metrics, uh, the pattern that we have provided to users is that in KK repo, in client Go package, we have provided some interfaces for certain metrics that different metric providers are free to implement. Either using Prometheus. I think Prometheus implementation is already provided by the component base package. But if people are using any other monitoring solutions, they are free to implement those interfaces for recording those particular metrics however they wish to. The only problem being that in the client Go package, we are enveloping the registration of those metric providers using a sync.once. What this does is it only lets just a single metric provider register itself. And controller runtime provides its own metrics provider because they have their own metrics endpoint, so they want to keep their own Prometheus registry, but they apparently have users who are asking them to let them override that Prometheus registry with their own, those users specific registry. And they are not able to give a solution to them because of the sync.once, because only at a time, only one registry is applied. All the metrics are registered just once. So he is asking, why can't we remove the sync.once in here? Let me share this in the chat. So replace the sync.once here with a slice of metric providers and let any metric provider that wants to register metrics, let them do that. And it seems like I was just going through the past issues and there was a lot of discussion with API machinery, and Damien was involved in one of those discussions. So I was curious, if do we have a solid reason for why we're not trying to do that, not
No,
allowing
that,
folks to do that? Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
that makes sense to me. Instead of locking registries, we would just lock a data structure and source the registry, whatever registry it is. If it's something that's being used by the user or something that's initialized by us, that that's actually, I think, a straightforward fix to this. I don't see any cons with that approach, but that should be fine. Uh, Again, if you want to bring this on the next call, though, feel free before starting work on this.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I will, or have an offline discussion with Damien because I see a lot of comments on him, from him on the issue. So yeah, but anyone
Okay.
else, if you have thoughts about, if you've also faced similar situations about you wanting to register a slice of metric providers, uh, feel free to reach out. We can have a discussion. Thanks. That's all I think. Oh, maybe I had one other item and I would like to go through that because I have to drop early today. If that's all right, that's the last item on the agenda.
Yeah, I was looking through this, and it seems David commented before this
Oh,
was
you did?
closed. Yeah, the last comment.
Oh, I see, on the guitar issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And
But I
I
was curious, like, have plans to like remove the endpoint eventually? What is the plan here? Because this was news to me yesterday.
um we so I think even in OpenShift, we want to do this. We want to get rid of CloudWiser because a lot of people don't use um they use different sources for fetching metrics out of kubelet, but there are also folks that rely heavily on this. So deprecating this is going to need a solid reason. I believe. And folks would be why not just because with metrics API in picture, people can disable metrics if they want, selectively. Um, we could maybe make some changes and have that done, you know, using a regex or something, just for like a bulk operation where these wouldn't make their way to the registry that we use. So it never gets any compute whatsoever. So people are just, whoever doesn't want to use it can disable it at the highest level.
Okay. I
Um,
think my motivation, like, the reason that I'm asking this is because I came across a PR that I was tagged in for a reviewer. Let me send that PR also in the chat. And they are trying to introduce a new KK metric, which is apparently very similar to this other metric that's already exposed by this endpoint, metrics C advisor endpoint. So, what is the recommendation here? Do we let them have this sort of first party metric in the KK repo, or do we point them to if there is something already available in this endpoint and this endpoint is definitely not going away, then why don't people just use that metric available in this endpoint?
I would say if this is so CADvisor talks, it's not even I don't think we're actively pursuing deprecating CADvisor at this point of time.
Okay.
Maybe in the future, but right now, I mean, if this overlaps with something that we already have, then there's no point in introducing the
Adding new
same
one, right?
metric. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Then I will at least confirm that the endpoint is not going anywhere anytime soon. So we can just keep reusing the existing metric.
I keep seeing so Damien just trying to find that. Hmm, Yep. So Damien is working on CADvisor. I'm not sure. I did hear from him that he wants to work in the same direction where we want to add more customizability and kind of allow disabling this altogether. But
Okay.
I'm not sure about the nuances of this too. So
I see.
Damien might be. This is not related to. This is just something else in CADvisor. But um, yeah, Damien has been looking actively into it. So yeah,
Okay.
you might
Let me
want
start a
to.
Slack thread then on the channel with him tagged in it and get an answer
Okay,
there.
awesome.
Cool. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Um, okay. Next up, we have Catherine. If she's there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, I think I won't discuss the third one, not least on next one. Yeah. Oh, so,
Okay, this is a download link.
cancel, yeah. And third one, yeah, we go back to the doc. Yeah, the third one, migrate to stateless. No, not this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Go this one, yeah. Because someone is asking for this one in the community, so I just want to bring it up. So, the thing is that currently in this metric, we will emit 0 or 1 for all the labels. But for this one, for example, if the reason, it can have 100 reasons. So even it only have one reason, we will emit 100 streams. So to represent, okay, this one is 0, this one is 1. And then people are concerned about the cardinality, because if we do this, and some people will add more reasons, so it will have more strings in the future. So basically, people are suggesting that we should only emit 1 for that reason. So for example, no matter how many possible reasons we have, we only emit 1 for the reason cause the pod status something. Yeah. And then people are discussing that it will be a bigger change. And then so we need to think about what should we do here. For example, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 reasons here.
Yeah, yeah. Is this something that is upstream right now? Because from what I remember, all of these are upstream. So we kind of have that mirroring with them. How is this? Like, what does this indicate exactly?
And so here, if you look at here, so kind of we have like multiple lines, more than 8 lines here. After change, it will only have 1 line for the auto CPU. So currently, for example, even for the node loss is 0, we still emit the metric here. The proposal there in the discussion that we want to only emit 1 for auto CPU.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, we need to have another one to represent this metric. It says probably they can use cube symmetric agent version or something to make sure the this one is. So maybe
Yeah.
because you want to distinguish between whether the metric exists or the pod is not healthy. So maybe there are 2 ways. One way is that we can ask them to join another KSM metric, or we can emit another metric like the cube pod status reason emitted or something. Because here, if you see, it doesn't say if the pod is healthy, the reason it won't emit a metric. Yeah. And should we create the question is that should we create a new metric, or should we and a feature gate in the code, and then we go through alpha, beta, like GA stage, similar to KK repo.
Yeah, yeah. We will definitely need to think about that. If we end up going that way. Um, I'm not in touch with. Are these standard? Like, for example, we hope we know that this is a standard Kubernetes region. Is this upstream? I I'm not sure because
So you're thinking maybe the Kubernetes is not concerned because we have a constraint on the number of reasons here, or
yeah, the first thing I would want to make sure is this reason exists in the first place upstream. If they are adding it, the cardinality is fine, I think, because there's
the
yeah,
problem
sorry.
is that the Kubernetes for the matrix is not only for this one, it need to multiply by number of pods. For example, if they have 1,000 pods, so they will need to emit
I, I see.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it will it'll be growing in the future. So maybe the customer is using KSM, and then when we add more metrics, it will become very changed because they found auto memory in their permissions.
Yeah. Um, I don't think we can
So,
because this is a
Catherine,
pattern. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to ask, Catherine, is this coming from one of the PRs that we had a discussion on KSM?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
okay, got it. Because
yeah. So
that's where we, I think, wanted to move away from the state set approach, that one, right?
yes.
Okay, yeah.
So basically, there are 2 solutions. One is create a new metric. Another one we have feature gate and graduate the feature gate from alpha, beta, GA stage to default on the feature.
Yeah. That discussion happened, I think last year sometime, and where there is still discrepancy in KSM where some metrics exist that have their own, that have an underscore and then the field and then underscore and then another field. And then some metrics exist where you see, that being encapsulated into labels themselves. So, um, the conclusion, I believe, was if it makes sense as a label and it doesn't threaten the cardinality, then we should be fine with going that way. The thing is, we even if we didn't agree to the existing pattern that we have right now in KSM, we cannot do anything about that because because we would need to deprecate a lot of metrics to kind of adhere to that standard. And the same thing applies here where we have already established this pattern. You can see it in BHOP's PR as well, where if someone finds a reason upstream that they think makes sense downstream in the context of this particular metric, then they are, you know,
Yeah,
they
the
can
problem is that
absolutely, yeah.
for one part, it can only have one reason. It's not about whether we should add a new reason into the pod. The problem is that it for one pod it only have one reason, but currently we are emit the status for the reason which the pod doesn't own. That's a problem. Yeah, we are okay to have more reason in the future. The problem is that how many strings we want to emit.
And what is the drawback of, sorry, maybe I didn't catch that, but what is the drawback of just emitting the metric for the reason that exists instead of others?
You mean we only have one string for the auto CPU and do not emit others?
Yes,
Yeah.
whichever
The,
reason is true.
the
Yes.
the problem is it might be a breaking change for people who create the dashboard. I don't know how they use the metric here.
No, but the dashboard will, if the Grafana dashboards, right, they will have the filter option, and in the filter they can always provide like the actual texts of all the reasons. And if the metric exists, then it will show up there. If it doesn't, then it wouldn't show up.
Yeah, the problem is that what if the people who use this one in a different way, they will say, okay, I will
I mean, certainly it's a breaking change. We'll have to communicate that.
yeah,
But
I see.
but if we are weighing against like reducing the cardinality long term because
Yeah, I
the
agree.
reasons
Yeah.
will increase versus communicating a breaking change, then I probably would lean towards the second one. But we can make that call how we
Yeah.
want to handle it.
And so I agree with you. Basically, I'm thinking we can have a feature gate there. So by default, we will default on the new behavior. And so if someone is asking, oh, you are breaking my dashboard, we'll tell them how to migrate. If it is okay for 1 or 6 months, just like a KK. If no one found any issue there, we just remove the feature gate and graduate to GA. Yeah, I
Okay.
agree with you. I don't think there will be a lot of branching for this one because there might be some, if depending on how they do build a query, but all of them should be migrable, can be migrated to a different query.
Got it. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And for the feature gate, do we usually, for any this type of change which could affect the existing dashboards, do we do a feature gate wise change, or it depends on the severity of the change? What's your guys' experience been so far?
Yeah, before we will create a new metric to avoid the breaking change. But in this case, I don't think we should create a new metric.
Right, right.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
it will be a real breaking change.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah. Makes
metric
sense.
gone.
No, I think the
So
feature
Yeah,
gate approach sounds decent if we are going to remove
yeah,
all the metric and only emit for the existing reason, binding it across feature gate, and maybe we can decide a time after which we could remove it as well, clean it up.
yeah. Maybe following KK repo. Maybe I remember 6 months or how long. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, feature gates have intervals, but the problem isn't breaking as much as it is more implicit, where feature gates, by definition, they allow you to kind of have an alpha, beta, and stable. But if we
Mm-hmm.
introduce metrics for every reason, then because the source is the same and the metric is never, and the reason is never going away, there's no need to pass it through alpha, beta, and stable. Because if one metric passes through alpha, beta, and stable, then all of the metrics at their inception can be unstable because they all originate from the same upstream. So it's more the fact that we don't need graduation for these metrics, because if metrics have a different source altogether, and for example, component owners a third party, K6 out of three sources where it's all CRD based. We don't know if what the matrix future is going to look. Even with component owners in tree, there are stability concerns sometimes. So we want to pass those metrics through a feature gate. And
Yeah,
because their understanding is different, their what they aim to do basically. But in this case, it's a reason and it originates from the same. So SIG node has been guaranteeing stability and you know satisfying that for a long time.
I
So
see.
doing
So
that
basically,
for every
yeah.
yeah.
So basic point, we don't need to from like alpha to GA, but when should we remove the feature gate? We want to default on feature gate. We don't want to have 100 feature gates in the next year.
Yeah,
So basically, we want to
exactly.
have a guideline. Maybe we can have a caps in the KSM to tell everyone, okay, we are going to have this feature gate, and the feature gate will stay for 6 months. And if you don't find any issue after 6 months, and if we don't find any issue in 6 months, we will remove the feature gate and default on the new behavior.
Yeah,
It
that
may be.
sounds. Mm.
Sorry, my only concern with that is we may be putting ourselves into too many rolling windows with that because we already have, with metric stability framework that Catherine implemented,
Yeah.
we have that, after three releases, we can move this to stable, we can move this to beta, and then we would be introducing another, graduation criteria for KSM, which does not, um, something that we should notice that does not exist upstream. So this goes kind of against the that converging on one metric stability framework. I would be fine if this is in both um, code bases upstream as well as in the sub projects, but this might make things difficult to manage. And even then, this is something we need to talk to Damien and Manuel about because this is metric names versus metric labels is a conversation that did happen. I can drop I think the issue or the PR in the channel where this happened for more context, but we just went with it because it was way too many metrics that would break.
Okay.
This is actually, yeah, I'll just take a minute more, but this is actually something that Han did as well when he implemented metric stability framework where they broke every single metric because there was no metric stability guarantees. So they could afford to do that, one might
Yeah.
argue. So they broke every single metric and then they moved to the stability framework and every metric was alpha. And from there on, we have this stability kind of thing going on. And that's the expectation downstream.
Yeah. Currently, all
So
the measures are beta. They are not
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So beta. So this case maybe fit into the beta area a little bit. It's between the beta and the GA definition. Whether we can reduce the number of streams for useless streams for a metric.
Yeah, the problem with that, again, I don't mean to be the devil's advocate, but the problem with that is even before, the incorporation of metric stability framework in KSM, as is happening right now, KSM metrics are used across the ecosystem, across production systems, even if
Yeah.
they do not have, an explicit stability level attached with them.
Yeah.
So
So, Pranchu, sorry, just like one small thing. Like, Pranchu,
Mhm.
your argument is that we rather retire this and introduce a new one to go through the stages, right? I think that approach sounds consistent with the previous issue. Now that you have mentioned about the previous issue that happened a year ago, uh, yeah, I
yeah,
just
if
want to add. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I
retiring
think
is sorry. Go ahead, Captain.
the key point that here we need to think about what's the impact. So currently, if the impact is large, okay, we cannot do that. But currently, from our discussion, no one figured out there will be a breaking case so far. So everyone think the network will be working. Yeah, the risk is
Yeah.
so low because I think what we can do is that we should create a doc and share with the KK community, and people can comment on the doc. If you think this one will breaking your dashboard, let us know. We will think about that. If no, we will have the feature gate and graduate after 6 months.
But then the question comes, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's a fair point, but the question comes that if such change needs to happen to any other metric, do we again go with the same route of, I know the answer would be to understand what the impact is,
yeah.
but regardless, right? Like the it will be, do we want to adhere to a specific standard, or do we still want to go with case by case basis? I think the KK community probably leans towards the standard process there. But in case, since we have some flexibility, we'll have to make that decision whether we want to do this case by case or just adhere to the specific standards.
You mean for this case, I'm thinking should do all in once, not like today we fix this metric and tomorrow fix another one. If we want going to do, we should fix for all the metrics.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that
I think
makes
we can wait 1 month for discussion, and then we can stay and collect all the feedbacks from the community. Yeah, and also we had 6 months because we first month for discussion, 6 months for waiting for people's with the breaking change in your dashboard. It should be okay.
The problem with that is just, you know, we haven't retired metrics in bulk. So retirement is fine. We say it is, it is the way to go for introducing metrics instead of renaming them immediately. But um, retiring on this scale is something that's still going to bring a lot of users back, even if we put a doc, even if we announce it in the rooms. Because upstream is just, I think a fraction of downstream people are really active here. So a lot of people will find that their dashboards are breaking, and then they're gonna
The
kind
the
of flood
problem is
the
that
tracker.
the problem is that we don't find a breaking case for this specific change.
Sorry, we don't do what?
Yeah, we don't find a breaking case, breaking change. So currently we think the dashboard won't be broken. So we haven't during discussion we haven't think about okay in which query it will be broken. Currently the answer is no.
Yeah, but that's the number of that narrow, downstream customers that are involved upstream. But if it's possible, it will happen, right? That's
Because
the
from the use case,
mentality. Sorry, that's
yeah.
sorry. My point was that if something bad is possible, it's going to happen. That's
But
just the
yeah,
mentality that we have with here, that I guess. Because it's going to break a lot of, even at the end of that 3 month period or 6 month or even 1 year, it's going to break a lot of metrics because we'll just remove these from KSM. So we will end up with like multiple duplicate metrics with just different names, but they do the same thing for a very long time.
you mean deprecating? Or which measure do we want to deprecate? The
I'm talking about retiring the metrics and just moving to that newer model that we were talking about. But
I see.
yeah,
Yeah, I think what we can do just we can start the doc first and get some feedback.
okay.
If someone say, "Oh, it will breaking us for sure," so it will be a red flag for us. If no, we can continue discussion. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Feel free to start a thread in the channel just for visibility and so others can come in. It
Yeah.
also seems we are over the time limit, so if there's nothing else that's urgent, we'll continue with this in the next fall. Thank you everyone for joining. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Okay. Thank you. I think your point makes sense. Yeah, we should consider more.
Okay. Thank you.